Welcome, everybody. I am Coach Les, and I am here with Sujata Tiwari, who is the author of a book, Against All Odds, and I'll just tell you a little bit about her. This book is the legal life manual. Do you live in the jungle with animals or live in civilized society? When you're pushed to the wall, push back. When you have nothing to lose, then give yourself that one chance and take a courageous step. Don't give up. It's hard, very hard, but courage and self-belief will open doors. Gather inspiration from Sujata's journey and trust her. You can do it too. All of us can be leaders. All we have to do is nudge that dormant factor. Giving in is easy. Tenacity and resilience are words to describe that one moment when you decide to take action, even if it is swimming against the tide or against all odds. No matter what the problem, Sujata is your partner to overcome the challenge and turn it into a stepping stone to progress. Leaders walk the walk and talk the talk, walk the talk, and should be accessible to make a difference in people's lives. Money cannot do that. Care can. Do you care for yourself or others? Sujata cares for others. And I am Coach Les. I am an integrity coach, and I am out to make a difference with communication and accountability, structures for fulfillment, and also spending time with grace. And we're here tonight in this podcast video cast. And tonight, our goal is to share about life's journeys and specific topics about life where we just bring up stuff, throw it onto the table, have a discussion with people in the room, people that want to come up on stage on Clubhouse and share, people that want to throw messages in Facebook or in LinkedIn and say, yo, hello, and throw up questions. We're here to answer those questions. And the great thing about Sujata and I is we have fun opinions about many different subjects. And we're not afraid to share them, because for both of us, it's not about, we want you to like our opinions, so we'll change our opinions to have you like us. No, it's about, we love each other for the fact that we have differing opinions, we have great viewpoints, and we learn from each other. And one of the things that we've been committed to here on this podcast and also on our Wednesday and Thursday podcast is we are out to make a huge difference in how people relate to some of these issues and how people relate to themselves. And we love hearing different viewpoints. We're not here to get into arguments. We're not here to say you're right or wrong, or we're right or wrong. We're here to learn and grow together as a community. So thank you for being here. And in the room on Clubhouse, for those of you that are here, it's one of those journeys where people will flow in and out. There may be a few people here. There may be up to 20 or 30 people here sometimes. And then there could be as few as me and Sujata. And we're okay with that, because we're not here to have 1,000-person room and get into, looking good and having the stage be all about the looking good people. We're here to work with individuals, make a difference, answer questions, and provide some TLC and some value on a Friday night for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Because we don't want to end in the middle of a conversation and say, oh, by the way, it's 10:30, we're done. Good night, bye, boom, and be done. no, we're here to have a little fun and grow together and spend anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes together. All right, Sujata, want to jump in and share a little, say hi? And I see Mo Rock said hi to us on Facebook. Mo is the owner of the Los Angeles Tribune and probably one of the most integrous people in media that I have ever met. And it's so great to see you, Mo, and thank you for sharing and thank you for saying awesome. And I'm super excited and looking forward to finding a way to do business with you. And I can't wait till you come and visit good old Minnesota, because his alma mater is my alma mater. I'm quite a bit older than he is, but that's all right. And so with that, I'll pass you the mic, Sujata.
Thank you. And that was very well said today, whatever you said. You always do that, and so you don't leave me with a lot of things to say when you have captured it so beautifully. Okay, and then you have a chuckle over it since you have point over me. But it's okay. The whole idea is that if two people are on the same page when they're sharing their wisdom, that is important. So yes, to reiterate, we are not in the numbers game. I always say that those who are here are the discerning people, and I'm always amused by a lot of people who are there in other rooms, but when it comes to this room, I think Sulena best put it forward a little while ago, that do you have accountability issues? Because if you want to be, you'll make the time and you'll make the commitment, which some of us do. That's what it is all about. And okay, if you don't want to come in, that's your choice. We are here to, give out our wisdom and our experiences and valuable shares. And what you can take away and learn from it, that's for you to take and learn. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Thank you.
Oh, look at that. There's Alexander and Jeanette. And come on up. Come on up on stage. Hi, Jeremy. How are you this evening? Hi, Jeanette. Hi, Selena. And hi, Candida. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it. And we're looking forward to a fun conversation this evening. Good evening, Alexander.
Good evening, Coach Les.
Great to have you.
Glad I'm here, buddy.
So, Sujata, do you have our topic for tonight?
The best part of our rooms is that we have so many ingredients. You choose what you want, and we'll give you the dish. So, what would you like to talk about? I can talk about anything and everything. So, I leave it to you because I think you've already put something in the room description.
I actually didn't look at the room description today, so I'm gonna have to actually take a peek at that because
You,
yes, here we go. Sharing the areas of training and development that are pertinent to today's business, family, faith, and speaking about all of it through the filters of communications integrity. And I think this is perfect. Oh my goodness. So I had a new potential client reach out to me yesterday, and I had a chance to get back to him this evening. And he's a home inspector, and he met the other coach that is in the networking group that I belong to. And they tried to squeeze him into their program. And I find it very interesting, Sujata. It's like, wait a minute. Whose business is it? And they're already running a business. It's successful. It's not as successful as he would like it to be. So he's looking to have a coach to level him up and take him over what I call the tipping point. Now, what right do I have to come in and pull the business apart and tell him that what he's been doing doesn't work and he should follow this model. I don't know. To me, Sujata, that to follow that stream of coaching occurs as highly arrogant and very condescending. And I just have a tough time operating in that arena. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that like that. It's very structured. They can bring their business and put it into a cookie, a mold, and it can come out molded, cooked, and ready to eat. But you know what? Why does it have to look a certain shape?
I'll answer that.
Okay.
And the answer to that is that we are operating on a linear thinking model and not on a non-linear thinking model. So everything in society has to be structured, put in a box, and then we go. The reason why some of us actually don't make a lot of progress is because it's counterproductive in a certain manner. You know, everyone who has something to offer is now a coach or a mentor. So there is so much of this designation for flowing around that people don't know how to choose, don't know how to react, and don't know what to take up. Whereas the thing should be that you keep an open mind and see what the person is all about. I feel that you can learn from a person by just by conversing with a person over a period of time. Money may not be involved, but you gain and learn such a lot. Now, the thing is that it's on the other person also to sometimes say, if I'm regularly talking to this person and gaining so much of insight, wisdom, and the person is holding my hand at all odd hours, they should themselves say, what can we pay you for your time? And I don't see that happening, which sometimes for me gets me down because time is of the greatest essence. And when I give time to people at all odd hours where my health gets impacted, I think there should be a respect for somebody's time. I hope that makes sense.
I think it makes great sense. And I think it's time to jump to the stage and hear what other people have to say. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Go for it, Jeanette. We'll do popcorn style since Jeanette already
All
has
right.
something to
Here we
say.
go. Too slow. All right. So here's what came to mind when you said, what right do they have to come in and switch it all up? You know what? That's reality TV. There are shows like that. You know, you have a restaurant, they come in here and they tear it all apart. They tell you how to run it. They have, bars. There's different reality TV shows that do that. Maybe they're into that mode. What happens to, because I do the bookkeeping side and I see the behavior. So when you have a business and they're like, I'm not doing as well as I need to be, I see the behavior, and it's the behavior that has to be transformed. They need transformation in themselves to realize what their purpose is. They had this entrepreneur spirit. They're probably overwhelmed because they're doing really well. And then they became set in their ways because they didn't know what to do. It just got so big so fast. But it's the behavior that has to change. They've got to level up in their forward thinking and in their logic and their ability to realize cause and effect and make quick changes and be quick decision makers. That's what needs to change. The entrepreneur spirit can be snuffed out when somebody comes in and says, you're doing it all wrong. I'm going to come in and make you redo it. We're going to tear it all apart and here's how you're going to do it. It's no longer theirs anymore. And if they came to a point where they were so successful, why would you tear the business apart and not look at the behavior first? So that's my question.
I agree. You're not going to get any argument from me. I mean, when I interview my clients, what I'm looking for is one, what had them start their business. That's success number one. Look at the number of people that never have an entrepreneurial, they have all these entrepreneurial thoughts, and someday I'll start my business. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll do that. And they never take the first leap. So really, that's the first success, is that person that leaps. Secondly, if you've been in business for a while, and clearly this person that I was communicating with had been in business, he had half a dozen people working for him. And in his business, that's an anomaly. It's beautiful. So Andy had to downsize because of the pandemic. Understandable. And, because of that, I think a lot of times people start questioning themselves because they experience that downsizing as going backwards. And I don't look at it that way, because once again, as you said, Sujata, that's linear thinking. To me, when you have to downsize because of a shift in the economy or a shift in business, that doesn't say that it's anything negative. That's somebody, as I would put it, trimming off the fat. And it's a great time to get rid of the people that are not your star performers. Because now all of a sudden there's some heat. Look, we've got to trim the fat. Who's going to be the fat? So I look now, I'm excited because I'm going to go into this with this particular client, and he's already done the hard work. He's trimmed the fat. Now it's the exciting part, the rebuild. And I think the place where the cookie cutter approach doesn't take into account, like you said, Jeanette, any of the mental mindset that he's had to go through, the plus and minus of being big, now being medium, and what he has to go through in his mind to adjust. Because it's not like he's, on Pauper's Row. It's just that things are not as lucrative as they were. So I love that comment, Jeanette. And I don't know if I answered anything or just came alongside you and agreed, and by agreeing gave you some answers.
Well, no, I just have more questions or more thoughts.
Perfect.
I'm gonna throw it back to you because there's other people on the stage. Let's see what they have to say first.
All right. Well, we're doing we've started popcorn style. So who'd like to contribute next or ask next? Flash away. Candida, go for it.
Oh, well, what is our topic about?
So we're looking at small business. We're looking at faith, family, business. And if you have a small business, what type of coaching works for you? What type of supports the kind of business that you have or you want to have? And do you like the kind of coaching where somebody hands you a book with numbers 1 through 20 and you have to follow the numbers? Or do you like the coaching style where it's much more holistic, it's much more outside the box, it's much more geared to you as an individual and your personality? So it's kind of a bunch of questions in there. Hopefully that gave you enough.
Well, personally, business is always, I guess, entrepreneurship, I feel, is selling yourself. So I've always said that people sometimes don't necessarily buy the product. It's the customer service.
Amen.
They like how they treat it, so they'll come, just because they like how they're treated. So that's the most best sales pitch in anything is yourself. Um, when it comes to scheduling, writing things down is good. I don't think you have to necessarily put things in a certain order, but I do think you should be able to have the goals set in such a way in a order. Or say, if you do finding a location, that's important. Um, what's neutral for your clients? Um, do you want to be mobile? I remember when I was interested in doing massages, physical therapy, because I believe a lot of people at the time was working out and didn't really know how important it was to also be massaged. So I kind of advocated that it was important for people that work out to get massages. A lot of people that was working out, when they work out, they overwork their muscles, and so it would cause tightness. And without them knowing, so I had to let a couple of my friends know that I felt like body massages was important because it helps loosen the body. And if you're working it every day without relaxing it, it's the difference from sitting down and eating or whatnot of that. But muscles have to be relaxed. They're when you're working them, they're tensed up. So you have to have plans, a workout plan, because some people, don't they say they want to work out every day, and if they don't have a set plan of time for that particular moment. So when I say you have to write down to plan to set those goals, it's important to write things down that you want to accomplish. Going about accomplishing them, like I say, finding location. And then once you find a location, then you go from there. Um, some people just say they might want to start a business without having a clientele. Most people say, how do you get a clientele? You have to advertise yourself. You have to go out. You have to speak to people. You have to, I remember when I used to watch TV, and a lot of people was always saying that they were salesmen. Unfortunately, when I tried to find jobs, those are one of the jobs that are always available, trying to sell things. Thing about it is that they rate you on what they call when you how many sales you get, a quota. So they expect you to meet a certain quota. And if you don't meet that certain quota, then you're not selling anything. So you have to get people interested in products, even if they don't want to be interested in products. Make certain things seem interesting. My niece had a bottle with flower petals in it with the different colors, and that there, is a something that she could take and she could sell and make interesting for others that like little objects to be, around. It's ideas and getting ideas out there for others to see and like the ideas and present them. But if you just have an idea and you don't have no one to present them to, then it's just an idea. So that's another part of building a business is having an idea and sharing it with someone else. You can't have an idea and just have it to yourself. That sometimes doesn't make anything grow, as no one else knows what you're doing. Part of networking and advertising is letting people know what you're interested in doing. So, yeah. Me personally, I am not in any business of my own. I have experience working, but being a mom became a job that I felt deserved my undivided attention. That's part of working, is giving something your attention. And I remember as a kid, even when you're given certain attention, you still look for attention. So I did not want to find myself abandoning that extra attention that we as humans look for. So that became my job, being a mother, not just to my kids, but other kids, encouraging them to be positive, productive adults. Listening to other people is also a good sales thing, because then you'll know what consumers want, what they want. So, if you can produce what they want, then that's another part of it. So, being a mom, having kids, setting them up and training them in the way they should go is part of this society, how we function. So I took that as a job, and it requires having location to keep them safe. It requires having a schedule to keep them up with them. And it's a business. Watching who I have around them, the choices that I make, I know can affect them. Also knowing that decisions that they make can affect others. That's all part of a business. When you bring other people in to help, their decisions affect what you have. So, you have to be careful with who you also help bring on, because, some people feed off of other people without wanting to bring to the table. And that can cause confusion. I always liked the story of the little hen, how she wanted to bake a cake, and she needed the things to bake a cake. And as she went around and asked people to help, no one wanted to help. And she wound up baking the cake by herself. And everybody wanted a piece of the cake. And even though both my grannies made it seem like the hen shared the cake at the end, I don't think I would have shared the cake. But, in their side of the story, they always let the hen share the cake. So that's part of, being a salesman. Sometimes you have to share what you have. You're the baker, and you have to take responsibility and joy in what you do. And they also explained that part in the story. The hard work that the hen put into making the cake. And
well, I appreciate your insights, Candida. Thank you so much. And by the way, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And with that, I'm going to just pass the mic, because there's just a small group, and that way we can zip around here and do it what I call PTR. Selena, what would you like to contribute to the conversation?
Coach Les, great evening, everybody. I am going to pass for right now because I'm on the road, and I will come back.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We look forward to it. With that, I go over to Brother Jeremy, my brother from another mother. Hello, sir. Uh-oh. He might have a baby in his hand. And I think that's the case. So I'm going to, and Jeanette, did you want to share more or should I come back to you?
No, I'll come back to some things that you said. You were talking about when the business owners, when they need coaching, right? And they need to be elevated, but not rebuilt, not rebuilt by a coach. They need to be elevated up. And you said something regarding the learning part or how they learn. Yes, there are, that you have to identify how they learn. There are some that they just have that quick decision-making entrepreneur spirit. They go in and they can see what has to get done. They can build things from the top up. And then there are those that learn by being shown or being hands-on. They learn. They can't get it started. So they need someone to come in here and teach them the steps, and that's how they learn. And then they take, when they get through so far, then they take it over. And that's how the brain works. So when coaches come in and they want to come in and elevate them up, those are the parts of the transformation that make a difference when they come in and they transform the way they think, their decision making. So I just want to put us back on those topics of what you pointed out, and just remember, some are hands-on and some just learn the principles and they just run with it. But to come in and redo the whole business, you're taking away what their idea was, and they were successful. They're there at a certain point. The other thing that I wanted to point out was you had mentioned how the pandemic changed things, right? They had to rethink their operation, not necessarily the business, but the operation. And we saw that here, in South Florida, where in our town, many of the businesses, they changed their operation. Innovation kicked in, and they said, we're just going to have a new way to do business. And they did. And not only that, the marketing changed as well. Before, they would have signs, they would put ads in the newspaper where nobody could go out, right? So they did word of mouth. We had apps that we used where when a business had the business was slowing down, we had the app where we could say, hey, we have some great Italian ice cream and nobody's showing up. So come out and get your ice cream. And guess what? The neighbors say, hey, we got to support this business. So we lost very few businesses. The innovation kicked in, though, the way they did. Another restaurant where they did barbecue foods and they couldn't have people in the restaurant. So guess what they did? They smoked their foods and said, order your smoked meats and then drive up and pick it up. So they didn't lose business. Innovation kicked in. Now, not everybody can do that because they need to be leveled up. So that's what I wanted to focus on based on your comments, Coach, that you said earlier. That's my share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. Appreciate you always. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Naki. Hi, Naki. How are you today?
Hello, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Coach. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
Good. No apologies necessary ever.
It's noisy in my background, so please forgive me.
Oh, no worries at all. We like to hear life in the background.
Yes. Coach, I don't know what we are discussing. I just, I saw your pink and I'm like, let me come in and listen to, what's going on here. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, let me give you a quick update and see if there's something before I move on, something that you want to contribute, and you can contribute or not and move on anyway. We're discussing a little bit about faith, family, and business.
Okay.
and the integrity of that. And also, if you're looking for a coach, do you want a coach that comes in and is cookie cutter and causes you to follow their direction and their way of doing business? Or do you like a coach that comes in, finds out what you do, how you've done it, and perhaps levels you up in a couple of different areas? So we're looking just kind of to play with people's own experiences in their business, in their family, perhaps even in their faith if they've been involved in the church, and how to look and see how these things, as we say, look at making a difference. And I guess in the room we said sharing the areas of training and development that are pertinent to today's business, family, faith, and speaking about all of it through the filter of communications integrity. And I started off by sharing about my experience today with networking with a potential customer, who had just had an experience with a different style of coaching than my style, and how he said, I don't think I fit into their mold. And I went, wait a minute, you're not supposed to fit into their mold. They're supposed to work with your mold. And we had a great discussion, and I'm looking forward to the next part of it. And I thought that would be a great discussion for us tonight in Life's podcast and videocast. So with that, I don't know if that gives you some food for thought, Naki, that you would love to share with us.
Thank you for the recap, Coach. I think I'll listen. I'll listen tonight. I'll just, thank you for the recap, though. I appreciate that.
No worries at all. And anytime you want to jump in, just flash your mic and let us know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Blue Bois. Hi, Blue Bois. How are you?
Hi. How you guys doing?
Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for coming up on stage.
No problem.
Did you hear my little recap?
Yeah, I did. And I was just coming in to listen. I seen one of my leaders over here, Miss Candida. So I thought I would just join in and just listen. Then the room says 24-hour Bible study. So of course we all need that. So
awesome.
I'm just here for the word as of right now, but I'm willing to chime in and once I hear a little more.
Beautiful. And please, as you can see, I give everybody a green badge, because for me, we're all the same, and we're here to support each other and level up. So thank you.
Yes, that's understandable. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So one of the things that I'd love to say about some of this, and I'm actually going to go back and reframe something that Candida was sharing, because she made a very important point. She's like, I don't currently have my own business, and I'm a mom, and I have all this stuff going on. Well, here's a shocker for everybody. I believe that, at least, and this is, by the way, I'm going to reframe this and say this is my point of view, and I'm more than happy to debate it. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm telling you this is the way to do it. It's just a way that I view it to empower in today's world with all of the modern technology and all of the cell phones and iPads that connect us. I believe our family structure today is very much part of our business. And I believe so heartedly in that when I'm coaching my clients, I tell them your family is your number one client. And if you relate to your family as your number one client, and you are in communication with everything you're doing, with respect to them as your number one client, because they're the most important client, to know everything that's going on, I believe it levels up the relationships between the leaders of the company and the family. And it's been something extremely successful in the coaching that I do, where I make sure with accountability that the company owner, male or female, is being responsible for family, male or female, significant other, and dating, and also managing the household is a full-time job. Therefore, if you own a business, and I'm just going to, for example, husband runs the business, wife runs the family business, i.e., the household, i.e., food, budgeting, getting the kids to school, time management, organization, structure, accountability, all of that. The way that nuclear family can strive and thrive is to be in communication, like two CEOs coming together inside a company. And when we see this as an opportunity, two things often happen. Well, there's also a third, but it's a very small percentage when I'm involved. And that is they go separate ways and the business falls apart. The other is that both businesses, the home business, the home family business, I'm not speaking an MLM or a network marketing thing. I'm speaking the business of running a household, which to me is a business, and the CEO of the actual business that has products and salespeople and a vendor and etc. That those two are very symbiotic. And the degree to which we can be in communication provides something that is irreplaceable. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Sujata, because I'd love to hear what she has to say about this topic and where I just took it, and we'll see.
So, you know my story, and there are a lot of women out there who are moms and who should appreciate that being a mom is also like a full-time job. Number one. Number two, just because you're a mom does not mean that you can't do other things. The reason why I say this is because whatever I'm saying, I have lived through it. So after being a housewife for 13 years, despite having a bachelor's degree, um, and I would never even go to buy vegetables without my husband, one fine day I decided to have a career. I had nothing in my hand when I went into my first walk in interview, and I had just my perseverance, my confidence, and I did get the job. And I didn't apply for a administrative job in an organization like a receptionist or an HR person or something like that. I applied straight for sales and marketing in computers without any background. And that started my journey. And whatever career progression I had, it was always without the relevant degree or the expertise. So when I went into journalism, I didn't have a degree. When I went into anti-counterfeiting specialist, I had my journalism to back me up with some experience, but I didn't have any legal background. I was not a retired cop or a lawyer or something or a judge, but I still handled the brand protection of all the brands that you can think of. And then I went into my own setting up my company, where I was a consultant based on whatever experiences I'd gathered. And when I went to Singapore, I did the unthinkable by setting up my own business. and I keep going forward. It doesn't matter to me how many people say no, that I can't do it. Even today, I'm told that I cannot do it, and I should limit myself to 3 areas of expertise and not be all over the place. But I keep doing that. So I published my book, I became an author. Then now I'm currently doing my podcast. So I just don't stop. And that's the key, that you keep moving forward and don't get limited by what society tells you. So definitely, I don't confirm. That makes sense.
I love it.
And of course, I must mention that in the course of this, you will find the discerning partners like you, Coach Les. What are you doing with me? You are partnering with me and giving us the chance to share our wisdom together. Isn't that beautiful?
Amen. Selena, are you at a place where you can speak yet? Probably not, it sounds like. All right. Hey, he's back. Michael Levitt, how are you, sir?
Hey, sorry, I had a phone call come in. Everybody wants me at the same time.
I know it's horrible being successful and wanted, isn't it?
Yeah, I was listening in earlier. Candida was talking about something that was interesting. My chiropractor shared something, and I had a thought about what she was talking about with like the physical massage of the body, that there are chemicals that are stuck and trapped. And they, even though blood moves through our body and circulates and all that kind of stuff, that there are certain things that are stuck. It's almost like you see the river going by under the bridge, and a tree falls down and hits the side of the bridge, and it stays there, right? And even though the water is moving, the tree gets stuck and stays in place, or it hits the bank of the river or whatever. And she was saying that our body is sort of like that, that there are places where things get stuck and wedged and don't move. And it could be where, like, you know, things grow cancerous or things like that, because they're not unleashed or let go. And that when you, like, for instance, just moving your thumb across your arm, right, or your neck, or anywhere on your body, you're pushing on that skin. It moves things that would normally not be moved, and those toxins are released, and they're able to be filtered out by the end of the day. You know, obviously drinking a lot of water and whatever. But anyway, I just that meant a lot to me when I heard that about the needing. But it's not a real popular part of our society. There's people who charge money for it, but if you look at a lot of indigenous tribal groups around the world, you see people who take care of each other closer than our modern Western society. And I wonder, you know, I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong with, you know, there's nothing obviously wrong about having a massage place where, you know, you go and professionally you pay somebody and, you know, they twerk your body into the right, you know, whatever, and get your muscles working again. But especially with husbands and wives, I mean, I wonder if there's just healthier ways of living that include, you know, getting the body detoxified and that kind of stuff. But anyway, those are some of the thoughts that I had when I listened to that.
That's awesome, Michael. And as right before you blipped in, I was just talking about how business and family coincide. And you brought up a great point. And once again, I'm going to use part of what Candida has said and what you just said, because I believe as a coach, part of my job is to go in and massage a business where the business may be not working as well as it could be working. the flow in the business is not moving the way it needs to be moved, and to be able to come in as a coach and massage certain areas of the business in the world of integrity, in the world of accountability, and in the world of structures for fulfillment. So for me, there are never any accidents in some of these conversations, because we can use these different areas and map them over each other and see the synergy that exists. When we say this is the training we need for the family, it can also be the same type of training for the business.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I have long heard that old saying, and people make fun of it. Well, we've always done it this way. And there's so many things, especially in business, that if you keep doing something, the saying, you keep doing something a certain way, you'll keep getting the same result, right?
Yep.
Well, if you can get the tree unstuck, well, why have you always crossed the river that certain way? Well, it's because there's a tree sitting in the way. Well, and what's funny, so let's say that you go on for generation after generation, always crossing the river a certain way. Well, why don't you cross the river this way? Well, we don't know. Well, what, and he said, well, it's just a funny way that you go about crossing the river. It's like, well, why don't you just go right down here and cross the river? So, well, we would, but that's not the way we do it. Our tribe does it this way. And you come to find out it was 150 years ago. There was something blocking them from getting to cross the river that way. They just couldn't do it. So they do it a more difficult way. And think of it in terms of business. There are ways that you order things, ways that you ship things. And so, well, why do you use that shipper? It's so expensive. It's like, I don't know. I mean, Grandpa always used them. It's like, yeah, but that was from 100 years ago.
Yep. You just reminded me of a story, Michael, about this lady, this grandma making a recipe and putting it into a tin in the oven. And they would always cut off the end. And I think it was a turkey or a chicken, or it might have been a ham. And they always cut off 15% of it and put it into this container. And, one day somebody said, why do you do that? Why don't you just get a bigger container? Well, because my grandma did it this way. Well, why did your grandma do it that way? I don't know. It's just been done that way. So they finally asked Grandma, why did you do this? And she said, because I only had one container and it didn't fit. So I had to cut it off.
I've heard that story shared in several different ways, and I like you, I laugh at it every single time, because you're talking about generations, not just a couple of years, but you're talking about generations, like 30, 40, 50, 60 years go by. And imagine, there's different businesses that still do things a certain way. My stepdad, still, when he hangs up the phone, I call my mother in Florida, and he'll pick up the phone and hello, and that's how he answers the phone. Hello. Now, nobody really has to answer the phone that way anymore. You don't have to say hello, because technology has increased. But if you remember back in the old phones from the 1970s and whatever, you had to sort of give it some extra boost and power to get that message to go all the way through those lines, because but every single time he says hey Linda, it's Michael, and so she gets on the phone, okay, I'm ringing off. Well, that's from the 1940s.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how his parents always used the phone, because they remember the Watts lines when you would it was one telephone line for the whole neighborhood. It would go ring jingle, whatever it did, everybody in every house would pick up the receiver and listen, and it'd say, phone call for Mr. Smith, phone call for Mr. Smith. And so Mr. Smith would go, oh, it's for Joey, it's for Joey. And they'd say, okay, I'm ringing off. Ringing off here too. Oh, okay, we're ringing off. And you were polite, and you announced to everybody in the neighborhood through the Watts line that you were ringing off of the line, because you didn't want them, you didn't want them to think that you were still there listening in on their private conversation, right? Whatever that was. So you would ring, you say, okay, we're ringing off. And then, of course, Mr. Smith would come to the phone, and he would, he'd have his phone call. And every time it would happen, the same thing. People would scream out through the neighborhood, there's a phone call, get Billy, But we still see people doing things that are ages and ages old, and even in business and relationships. Now, I will not stop opening doors for my daughter, my mother, my girlfriend, my wife, my church, the ladies at church. Not that I have a girlfriend and a wife. I have neither right now. I'm just saying, when I get a girlfriend, because I don't have a wife anymore, but you know what I meant by that.
Of course.
There's the ladies of the world deserve an ultra level of respect and honor. And I just won't stop doing that. I physically cannot watch a woman approach a door. I don't know how to do it. I've even tried it a couple of times to just stand there and watch her open it. I'm like, no, this ain't happening. And I jump forward. I don't care who she is. I grab the door, and some of them look at me weird now. And they're like, what the world did you do that for? Well, it's kind of how I'm programmed,
I mean, here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing about what you're sharing, Michael, is that I will do that for men. It doesn't matter who it is. I'll do it for the person that's right behind me. And the person that's coming through the door the other way. I'll open it up and step aside and let them out. And they always look. They're like, well, thank you. And I'm like, no problem. And I walk through.
So I'm over the road all the time, up and down from basically from New York City through D.C. down to Raleigh, all the time, back and forth. And that happens to me every day. I go in and out of travel centers and buildings all the time. And there is a genuine among the transportation industry in places like Love's and Pilot and the what they used to call truck stops or called travel centers. There is a genuine camaraderie among everybody. So, yeah, that's exactly how we are and how we are treated and how we treat each other. But I am significantly more so. I will, if I'm near the door, I'll hold the door for a gentleman. But if I'm not near the door, I find myself running for the door if it's a lady. Isn't that weird? But it's just, that's just how we were raised. So that's the world we live in. But some of those things, well, we've always done it that way. That doesn't hold true in business anymore. You have to be open-minded to the technology and the innovations. And honestly, the lessons that you missed out on. Did you ever skip a day of school? Come back to school and find out that you really needed lesson 3.1 to be able to understand lesson 3.2. And I think there's a lot of that stuff in business and especially in psychology that have fallen by the wayside. Things that have gone away that we didn't pick up on, and you just did it the way everybody taught it, but you didn't understand why. And do you remember Edwards W. Deming, Dr. Edward Deming?
Mm-mm. Nope.
No. If you get a chance, look up the Deming, D-E-M-I-N-G, Deming method. And there's a bunch of the old videos from the 1970s that of him teaching. And really tall gentleman. I mean, just very quiet spoken. He was very, very soft spoken, very deep voice, very powerful orator. one of the greatest teachers of our generations, and he served on the Eisenhower Commission. He was one of the people who led in creating the interstate systems that we
Hello,
use
and
to
welcome
drive
to
on
today's
now.
lesson, where we're looking at.
Yeah, he's just a fascinating person, but he always taught on process improvement and systems improvement. He had a series called Total Quality Management and Total Quality Leadership that was in the military used for a long time. But the TQM TQL is what he's known for. But his focus was process improvement. He says systems break down constantly, faster than you think they do, and you've always got to be improving. You always got to be finding that next. Just business, but our churches, our families, our neighborhoods, everything we do, there's always process improvements going on, and people just genuinely, most people are lazy by nature. I will admit it. I'm the chief of the lazies, and I forget to look at the process improvement sometimes.
It's interesting. He has a thing out there called the 14 points.
Yes.
Yep. And it's create.
Yeah, if you get a chance to see the video.
Yep. Very interesting. Focus on total cost, not the price tag.
Videos. And
yep. Stop depending on inspections. Improve constantly and forever. Institute on-the-job training. Institute leadership. Drive out fear. Break down barriers. Eliminate unclear slogans. Eliminate management by objective. Remove barriers to work pride. Implement education and self-improvement, and make transformation everyone's job.
Isn't that wild? Just listening to it, when you read it, it still puts goosebumps on my arms. He created processes that allowed people to thrive, even in systems that looked like they were dead. He went to China because basically the United States sort of unwelcomed him because they used the slogan, well, like Mr. Ford said, well, we've always done it that way. I'm not talking about the old Henry Ford. I'm talking about the younger one. And they just did not want improvement. They wanted a slogan. Well, quality is job one. Well, that's great to have a slogan, but if your car rolls off the assembly line, Mr. Quality is job one, and all of them fall apart, 1983 Taurus, before they get to the person's house. I mean, come on. Deming left and he went overseas. He ended up in Japan, and in the 1970s, late 70s, on process improvement. And he started not at the top. He didn't go to the CEO and the president and the vice presidents and the leaders at the top of the company. He started at the very bottom with the janitors. And then he went to the people running the machines. And he slowly worked his way up until where he gets to the very top guy, and he says, here's how to fix it. So you don't go to the president and say, what do you want changed? You go all the way to the bottom. You find out where the processes are failing. You find out from the people who operate the machine how would it work? How would it serve you better? How could the machine work better? How could the system work better? How could we increase flow and design? And you slowly move up to the top. All the ideas came from the bottom.
Can I interject really quickly?
Please.
What did you say was the name of them?
Well, his system was called Total Quality Management and Total Quality Leadership, TQM, TQL, and his name is Edwards W. Deming.
Okay.
Dr. Deming, Dr. Deming they called it the Deming method.
Okay. Awesome. I will definitely look it up. Well, Coach Les, I'm available whenever. You ready for me to speak?
Go for
I
it.
don't want to interrupt.
Go for it.
Well, I know Michael was finishing up his.
Okay.
Michael, are you completed?
Oh, I'm never complete. I could talk literally forever.
You're in the right place.
I absolutely hear you, Michael, because I saw the train going all the way down the track, and I was like, "Oh Lord, we got to pull the train back on the track." So I hear you loud and clear. But I'm just gonna offer, I guess, my insight per se on what Coach Les shared and Sujata shared, as far as a coach coming in and pretty much, wanting to dictate or impose their cookie cutter method on you versus really taking the time to find out how they can meet you at the level of your need. And and then of course, Candida went on to share. So what I will say is, I really feel that you can never really get to the root of any issue, whether that's within your family, whether that's within a business, right? And unless you really sit with, and this is kind of taking the approach of, like you said, the denim method, sit with each person within that infrastructure and really find out where they see, I guess, a crack in the infrastructure. Instead of just going in and saying, okay, you know what? Well, we have this particular way that we do things, and as a result, we're just going to go in and take that approach. You may see some temporary success, but there's no sustainability to that. There's no sustainability to just going in and taking a cookie cutter approach versus really, really taking the time to find out, to find out and look at things through the lens of each person within that infrastructure. So if we're talking about a business, okay, fine. The workers, the CEO, the CFO, right? If we're talking about a family, husband, wife, the children, right? I think taking the time and really making the investment in finding out, that is truly would be the best way to approach if you want any type of long-term results. So I yield the mic, Coach Les, right back to you, or Sujata.
Oh, I think Sujata. Go ahead, Jeanette.
Yeah, and Coach, you remember I grew up under that model, having grown up in a Japanese business where, yes, I started almost at the bottom, probably the next level up, and they trained me every level up. So, and having to go in and look at and do those flows to see where the changes have to occur. And as they make the decisions, the flows change. And then working, of course, continuing that education that business, and it was actually in the financial market, and then going into actual working for Toyota and working in a bigger capacity in that model, all from where it developed under Demings. So having seen that, yes, we do go to the bottom. We start at the bottom. When I would go into companies, I would go into the operations and begin the flows and begin the changes and looking at cause and effect, and then developing the Kaizen, which is the model for improvement. So that is true. That does take, I always call Toyota the Phoenix company because they've had disasters in their recovery on how they change and recover. And they do that process continually when they change their operations and they recover. So I look at that continually when I look at change. I don't go into a company and say, here's what you need to change. I go in and start at the bottom, and then give my reports at the top. And I love doing that. It's like going in and creating the building, rebuilding the blocks per se. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Sujata, did you want to step in?
Mathematically, also, you start with 0. You don't go to 100 straight away. Start from 0. Or if you would like the climbing the mountain kind of an analogy, you start from the bottom to climb the mountain top. Unless, of course, you are dropped down at the top by a helicopter or plane. That's a different matter. But contextually, you have to start from the bottom. And even when you climb the top, if you have to go down, you have to go down all the way to the bottom. Thank you.
I love it. Naki, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Coach.
Are you being entertained by us? I just want to make sure. I have to check in once in a while.
Yes. I may hop off very soon because I have a conference, on my phone, so I may hop up very soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So I want to check in because I just noticed the time. We're winding into our timeline. And I want to check in and see if there's anybody that would like to contribute or ask anything before we wrap it up and tie it up in a neat bow and push it out to next Wednesday. All right, then. I think it's perfect. What a beautiful opportunity to pause and regroup between now and next Friday. Regroup and maybe pop in Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm so grateful and thankful for each of you and your contributions and the fun that you had and the stretches you made to have the conversations. Support you in any way, shape, or form that we can. So with that, Sujata, anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Just a thank you to all those who made it and who always make it to our show. I am very grateful and blessed to have you to contribute to our shares.
Awesome. And I am always humbled by some of the things that were shared. Every time I come on Clubhouse, there's always something that continues to humble me, continues to have me manage my humility in these rooms and enjoy and see the value in each and every person. So I honor and thank each of you for that. And with that, I am going to just do a little closing video. And once again, I appreciate and thank each of you. It's been a wonderful evening, a fun conversation. And I can tell you this, it continues to impress me how the conversations go in these rooms. And I'm sometimes flabbergasted that they move the way they move. And they are so open and so available for each of us to share our personality, and then to be able to see how we can wrap it all up into a beautiful conversation and put a little bow on it is wonderful. So thank you so much. And I can't wait for you to hear, and for those of you that ever go and listen to the replays on social media, if you get an opportunity to see, I have a new outro that you all will get to hear. And I thank you all for being here. And with that, here we go.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
We've increased our sales by about 33%, of blowing all of our goals out of the water.
In my first 6 months, I actually grew my business with his help over 500%. Literally 500%.
Les Hill is the type of person that invests back in you and back into your company. So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.